We have some major breaking news right now. Former Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz says he is withdrawing from his nomination as Attorney General, just releasing a statement which reads in part, while the momentum was strong, it is clear that my confirmation was unfairly becoming a distraction to the critical work of the Trump-Vance transition. There is no time to waste on a needlessly protracted Washington scuffle. Thus, I'll be withdrawing my name from consideration to serve as Attorney General. Trump's DOJ must be in place and ready on day one. Again, the breaking news, Matt Gaetz is now withdrawing his nomination as Attorney General. I'd like to bring in senior editor with our partners at thehill.com, Jesse Burns. Jesse, thank you for your time on this. This certainly was not going to be the first topic that we started out with, but again, in Washington, things are constantly changing. What do you think this means going forward?
Well, Gaetz was certainly right in that statement saying that it was a distraction, although I don't think it was accurate to say that he had any momentum. It was very clear for anyone following this nomination that Gaetz, the writing was on the wall. He was having a very difficult time trying to get the 50 votes that would be necessary among Republicans, mind you, to get that nomination through. I think this is an indication that the adults in the room essentially won out. They knew that this nomination was doomed to fail. I think it's also an acknowledgement from the Trump team that this was going to be a huge hurdle and a huge lift for them, and it very likely would have distracted from Trump's agenda within the first 100 days. And so did they really want to put up with a confirmation battle that Republican senators themselves have acknowledged would have been the Kavanaugh on steroids, as Cornyn put it, essentially that 2018 confirmation battle for Trump's judicial nominee, Brett Kavanaugh, which was a hugely bitter fight in Washington. They didn't want a repeat of that. And so it's an acknowledgement that they need to look elsewhere for Trump's AG pick.
Well, Jesse, what does this mean for that House ethics report? Because a lot of the talk was about whether or not it would be released, whether or not it would at least be released to lawmakers, to the Senate before that vote in January, potentially.
Well, it certainly puts a damper on those calls for it to be released. Of course, Senate Democrats were pushing for the FBI to also release its background check information when it conducted its own investigation. So a lot of those calls across Washington, I think you're going to see be reduced. There might be some still pushing for it. But if he is no longer in contention to be Attorney General, there's much less of a rush to get some of that information. Now, it's not out of the question that President-elect Trump might still want Gaetz. He's no longer in the House of Representatives. He resigned last week. There's still a potential that Trump might appoint him to some other type of role, whether it requires Senate confirmation or not. It would have to be, in this case, one that would not. It's very clear that he doesn't have the votes in the Senate to actually get confirmed for DOJ or likely any other position. But it's not out of the question that Trump could still appoint him to some type of White House role. If that were the case, there's still a lot of scrutiny on some of these allegations that he has, of course, defended himself on.
Yeah, another White House role or potentially a brand new role, create something completely new. Jesse, who could be next in line at this point? Because now, if not Gaetz for AG, who could we see the president-elect potentially select?
Well, it certainly blows open the vetting now for a number of other potential picks. And so I think we're going to see in the coming hours and coming days some names come forward. But it's also important to know that Trump has already come out and announced some of his picks for some of the number 2, the number 3, and other top roles in the DOJ. And so, he's named some of his own personal attorneys who have defended him in that hush money case in New York. And so there hasn't been a lot of scrutiny on them. The focus has mostly been on Gaetz. But I think if he sticks by those other nominations, there's going to be a renewed focus on those individuals as well. And so I think that's something to watch. This, of course, is playing out as Pete Hegseth, his defense pick, is on Capitol Hill as well, trying to lobby his own nomination among Republican senators. But this is a big chip to fall. It shows that the Trump team really didn't have the wherewithal. They didn't want to put up with this fight over the next couple of months when it comes to Gaetz. But I think it also is an acknowledgement that they realize the writing is on the wall for some of these picks. And so it's a question of are some of these other picks in that same position.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.